tell you guys a story about a woman who has the perfect life, job, everything. But then her life starts to spiral out of control after an addiction that she has starts to take over. This story is filled with a lot of gorgeous people. So Zoe is a entrepreneur. Her husband is an entrepreneur. They are both very successful. They have two kids, and Zoe's mom is living with them in order to take care of the kids so they can focus more on their business. Zoe represents artists and helps them take their art to the next level and turns them into a brand. She and Jason have a very healthy relationship. They're open and honest with each other. They have a very healthy sex life. But still, something is missing for Zoe. Zoe is just not understanding why she is not fulfilled after being with her husband since high school. They are going at it 2 to 3 times a day, and she's still lacking. She's lacking to the point where even afterwards she has to satisfy herself. She's not really making a big deal about it. It's just normal now for her. She goes into the job, and there's a lot of people in her office, and that's one thing we need to keep in mind. As the story goes on, there are a lot of people in this office. I am having the question of, where are all these people doing? I just want to know. Just want to know. She is told about Quentin Canosa, artist that has not had any representation, but his art is amazing. And we need to jump on it. We need to get him represented by our company. He's going to be showcasing his work at a gallery because you can't find his face anywhere. He is not a big fan of photos. Zoe takes it upon herself to go to this gallery wearing this questionable dress, but to each his own. Goes in and admires his work, viewing all of his art pieces, and she's enthralled. She really loves Quentin Canosa's work. A gentleman stands in front of her, blocking her view of one of the paintings. She lets him know the situation, like, kind of blocking my view. I'm trying to view this art. You like this art? I mean, if you want to consider it art. She takes offense to it. How dare this guy offend Quentin Canosa's work like that? He clearly knows nothing about art. You're insulting the work because you don't know anything about art, and that's totally understandable. A random guy comes over and compliments Quentin on his work, and also complimenting her for being so pretty, and she realizes, oh, this is actually Quentin Canosa. And he is gorgeous, okay? He is a very fine-looking man. He is not shy about letting Zoe know how he feels about her and the attraction that he's having, and wanting to be near her as much as possible. He shows her one of his favorite art pieces, and it starts to get a little too close for comfort, and she starts to express the reason why she actually came down here. He allows her to express what the business is all about and what she can do for him. He's just enjoying her company, and she understands that the vibes are a little off right now. We're no longer in business territory. I do want to have a business meeting with this guy, and she invites him to her office to have a formal meeting. He's not about that formal life. He lives life on casual mode. He invites her to his studio. He kisses her hand and exits. And she's left with thoughts. She can't really focus right now. Every time she turns around, she's thinking about Quentin. And for good reason, because he's hot as hell. She's so excited about him that she goes home and cooks an amazing dinner and puts on this very sexy dress in hopes of meeting her husband to get her rocks off. She ends up calling and realizes, oh, her husband's going to be late at work. He ain't going to be coming in. He doesn't want her to wait up for him. Because of her excitement for Quentin and trying to still get her rocks off, she ends up keeping that beautiful dress on that she has and goes out and tells her mom she's going to the grocery store, but she's actually going to a club. And she's there to view a guy, a very hot guy, who is actually making out with another girl, but she locks eyes with him. So Zoe goes back home. She's showering, ready to go to bed. Her husband comes in, feeling a little bad about being late at work, but he makes it up to her. But as she's sleeping, she can't help but think about Quentin, that very sexy man. The next day, she ends up going to Quentin's studio. She walks in. It's okay. You know what? The door is open anyway, so you might as well just walk in. Calls out his name. She gets no response, but she is admiring the art in his place, an art studio in his apartment. She sees this very interesting art piece. As she's staring at that, he comes down the stairs, shirtless. He has a shirt in his hand, though. Then once he gets to that bottom step, calls out her name as he puts on his shirt. She turns around and stares at him, admiring his body as one would, because it's Quentin Canosa. Take my shades off. So I think you guys need to understand the situation that's going to be unfolding. He's walking close to her. He asks her, as he's putting his shirt on, if she wants something to drink. She denies both the coffee and the tequila that he offers her, but he pours himself a coffee, and then they sit down to have a meeting about getting signed. So he repeats exactly what she told us in the gallery, but then she starts to lose focus because it's Quentin Canosa, and he had to remind her, I can take that contract now. She discusses with him, like, hey, you might want to, look this over with your lawyers, make sure everything is good, do a little bit of research on us. He does not need any of that. He signs it, no questions needed. As she's about to leave, this happened real quickly. Obviously, there's more to this, and she should have known this going forward, because you already got to his house after meeting him at a gallery, he lets her know, like, listen, you're not the first person that came to me asking to represent me. I signed with you for a reason. And he tells her because he has intentions on painting her. She's ready to go. She did what she needed to do. She's trying to be professional. She leaves. He does not let her leave. As a matter of fact, he's making sure that she understands what's going to happen when he's done with this painting, because he's going to put it over his bed so he can think about her when she's not here. She's still trying to leave because she is a married woman. She's happily married with her kids. She loves her life, but he ain't trying to hear that. He already knows that she's married. She showcased that big rock when they were at the gallery, but he knows her inner thoughts. At least it feels like he does, because he knows that she wants to stay. So she stays, he satisfies her, and she's hooked. She's hooked now. She goes back to her office looking disheveled, looking crazy as hell, for good reason, because she definitely got banged out by that very hot artist. While that's happening, we are introduced to a character named Crane. Mr. Crane, I mean, his name is Baltazar or something like that. He's this guy that can take her business to the next level, but all that they need her to do is answer his phone calls, which she has been ignoring and sending it to voicemail, telling her assistant to take a message. But now it's time for her to possibly meet him in person to solidify how he can help the business. Her assistant best friend is telling her, listen, I set a date. I set a date, a location. I even gave you directions and a time. Please be here because this is going to help our business. I need you to pull this through. Because after meeting Quentin, she can't life well. And it's understandable. Like, we get it. We've seen him. We understand the situation, but we also understand that you're married and this is not going to do well for you when it comes to your life. Must have promised her son that she was going to be going to one of his games. Her son and her mother come home early trying to figure out, I had a game today and you said you couldn't come because you were at work, but now you're here. What happened? Babe, I'm sick. I'm not feeling good. I'm going to rest it off, but the next game that you have, I will be there. The son is disappointed, but the mom understands, yet still kind of confused. But whatever the daughter wants and whatever the daughter says, the mom is there with her. Zoe is realizing that Quentin may not be the right fit, but instead of putting him with any of the other agents that might be at her company, she takes it upon herself to get rid of him as a client, because if she can't represent him, no one can. So why are all these people in your office? What is their role in this company? She calls for a career to send it over to his place, which would have made more sense, but she is a strong, independent woman that can do this in person. Go back to the place where you met him at initially when he satisfied you. Instead of just having a stranger deliver the package, you want to do it yourself. I get it though, like 100%. But this is still the day where she's supposed to be meeting with Mr. Crane, see how he can help her business. So she's somewhat on a time crunch, but she's getting to his place slightly early. Like, the sun is still out. And her meeting with Mr. Crane is at night, like at 7 p.m. We encounter Diamond, who is another artist, friend of Quentin, and lets Zoe know that he's out. He stepped out and he will be back sometime later. She drops off letters, sneaking it under his door. As Zoe's trying to make a run for it, Quentin finds her, talks her into staying. Like, he gets it. Like, she keeps on reiterating that she's married and happy, but he's like, I get it. I just want to show you an art piece, no more than an hour, and then, like, afterwards you can leave. Like, I'm not going to keep you here longer than you want to be here. So she agrees to see an art piece that he drew on a wall, and there we are introduced to the backstory of Quentin, how he ended up getting into the art in the way he is. His mom, when he was younger, left him and his dad for another man. Dad was very sad and depressed and off himself, and he has abandonment issues. But when he's around Zoe, he feels good and comfortable, like she understands him. Like, he likes being around her. And that 1 hour that he said that she would only spend and leave afterwards turns into a few hours, to the point where she actually misses the meeting with Mr. Crane. She apologizes and blames it on her daughter, saying that, oh, my daughter was in the hospital, that's why I had to miss. I would love to reschedule. He's understanding because he's not knowing that she's lying. Throughout all of this, she realizes that her issue is a little bit more than she can handle, so she reaches out to Dr. Marcella. Dr. Marcella is someone that was recommended to her, and she's just trying to get to the meat and potatoes of the situation. Why can't you tell your husband the situation? Why can't you have a formal conversation with him? And why can't we dig into your past? Like, what happened to your child, like in your childhood? Like, I really would like to understand what's going on, because by understanding the past, we can help course correct present so you don't ruin your future. Makes a lot of sense to me. Zoe doesn't understand, nor does she remember much from her past. Her husband jokes about it, saying that life didn't start until they met. It's a lot of suppressed memory that we don't realize or understand until later on. Throughout all of this, she is now encountering Corey. Corey is the guy that she initially met at the club, because now he's sitting by himself. He's eyeballing other women because he is definitely a womanizer. She is now at that point where I am down this rabbit hole after meeting Quentin. I might as well explore other options. Corey is actually the kind of guy that she is looking for. He is the get in and out, I'm gonna bang you out and then go about my day, and we're only going to contact each other when it's time to do the deed. He's not trying to have somebody question her marriage. Quentin, on the other hand, he is definitely getting closer and closer to Zoe, and she's not realizing this or not caring. He's liking her to the point where he's actually trying to understand, like, when do you plan on leaving your husband to be with me? This is something that's forming into a relationship that he didn't expect. But Zoe is still thinking that she could just play the field, have her cake and eat it too. While at the same time, she is definitely failing on the promises that she's making to her son. And also, she's doing a lot of sneaking around at night, making people question where she's going because she's dressed up. So it's easy to say, or for her to claim, that it's business meetings, but you're doing it a lot. And you're doing it kind of secretively. But also at the same time, she ends up getting a new phone that she first said was given to her by Mr. Crane as a promotional piece. She ends up receiving text messages from Quentin. We now know she has a whole new phone that she's trying to keep secret from her husband, even though in the process of Quentin texting her, she leaves the phone on the counter for her husband to obviously find. But it's supposed to be the secret phone. But anyway, she's meeting up with Quentin, having to let him know, like, listen, I can't keep doing this. She keeps on repeating the same thing. It's just verbatim, just saying it while still doing the things that she's doing. And he's getting kind of tired of it. The more she's with him, the more connected that they're getting. And it's not like they're spending like a week together or 2 weeks. They are together for months. When she has the time, she's going to his place. So we can most likely think she's going to his place at least 5 times a week. And then every now and then she meets up with Corey just to change things up. And the family life is rough. The husband's feeling a little distant. They have this little corny little saying that they say. And as the story goes on, she's not finishing it. I love you, our love is forever, always has been, always will be. They like finish off each other's sentences, and it's like, ugh, but we get it. They were trying to make that a thing. So the husband's a little suspicious, but he's not being told anything from his wife, so he doesn't see anything as an issue. Quentin ends up getting what he wanted. He gets the opportunity to paint her. As he's painting her, they end up doing the deed, finishes the painting, and she wakes up to admire all the work that he's done already when it comes to his paintings. And one would assume, if you've been dealing with this guy for months, how are you just now in present day, just now looking at his art pieces? You've been at his place plenty of times. Now granted, you probably are going to his place just to have sex and then leave, but one would assume that you've been to his place multiple times in the months that you visited him. There are possibilities that could arise that you would be admiring his work and not just doing it right now. But anyway, she notices his work right now, and she starts noticing that a lot of his work have to do with women and women doing different poses. She's realizing she's not the only woman, but that makes sense though, because he's single, you're married. She makes it a much bigger issue than it has to be. She starts reiterating the same shit about her being married with kids, and he's kind of over it because we already established that a long time ago, but now it's a big issue. It's a big issue for her now. After that's all said and done, she goes back to the office. Things ain't going well at the job. Numbers are down. People are leaving because people don't feel safe at this job. Because if the boss doesn't give a shit about the job, why should anybody else? And she's trying to figure out a way to get the revenue back. And so she ends up, against her better judgment, goes and gets Quentin to sign the contract again in order to get representation so she can have a client and some revenue. This is where they're at right now. Quentin is no longer looking at the situation like they're going to be together, because she already established on multiple occasions that she's never going to leave her family. They also know that they're both very attracted to each other, and so they just do what needs to be done. In the process of all that happening, Quentin has been talked to amongst the community, and there is something happening in the town where a mural is going to be made. Some people that are putting the whole thing together want to admire Quentin's work. Included in the meeting that happens at Quentin's house, Zoe's husband is there. Zoe is in the house. She hides. A painting between Quentin and Zoe is showcased but hidden behind a cloth. Jason, is admiring all the work. His eye is drawn to this painting that is hidden. He wants to see what's underneath. Quentin doesn't stop Jason. We can all assume that he's probably dealt with other women that look similar to Zoe, but the similarities are very uncanny. So the possibility of the lid being popped off at this, if it was viewed, would be kind of devastating, at least for Zoe. But Quentin is enjoying it. The game's being played. He's kind of over it. He kind of has the upper hand at this point. Jason's not able to view it. He gets interrupted, Hollywood style. They end up leaving. Quentin ends up leaving after he signs the contract. She ends up going to see Corey. Corey is her old reliable. Whenever she calls, whenever he calls, she's there, and things are just amazing. She even fantasizes about him at the job. In her office, he has her looking crazy, imagining him all over her, on her desk within work hours. Like, it don't even make sense. You look crazy as hell. She ends up getting invited to a BDSM sort of thing at the same club. There's just like a thing that they have. Like, this is exactly, if she was looking for a way to get her rocks off with someone that's not going to be nagging her to leave her husband, Corey is the person. But it's coming to a head because she gets back home and her husband's up waiting for her, trying to understand where she goes at night. Their daughter's trying to figure out what's going on, and so the husband wants to understand too, because there's a lot of questions. Could be for business, or it could not be. It would be great if we could talk about it, because we need to figure it out. Through the suggestion of Marcella, she introduces the idea of therapy to her husband. But the thing about it is that because she's already been going down the streak of cheating on him, she doesn't feel like it's necessary to let him know there's a problem with her, how she has a very high sex drive and she gets excitement off of being with other men. She introduces the idea of therapy to him as if there's a problem in the marriage that they need to share with a stranger. And so he's lost, because at this point, they've been talking a lot. Like, they have a really good communication system that when she's saying what she's saying to him, it's throwing them off. This is coming out of nowhere. How are things so bad between us, but you haven't shared any of this with me until now? But also, by the suggestion of the therapist, she lets her know, like, if you're not going to share your past with me, so we can understand the root of the problem, if you're not going to answer the questions that I'm asking that are simple to get to the root of the problem, you need to cut off your relationships with these guys cold turkey. Cut it and fix the problem that you have with your husband. You know how sometimes when you are at fault, but you don't want to admit to it, you have to address it with other people. You make it seem like both of you guys are at fault when really it's only you, but you don't want to look like the bad guy. That's basically the situation. So she ends up going to Quentin's place, because Quentin at this point, he's kind of over it. He's been at the house, he's drinking, because he just went through a lot of stuff with this woman. It's kind of celebratory. There might be a possibility that Zoe really isn't going to be dealing with him. So she comes to the house and he's a little under the influence. Thing about Quentin, does not do good with abandonment. People in his life that he has cared about has left him, even though she is not good at expressing how she feels, what she really wants. There was even a moment where she comes to talk to him to kind of do the deed, but he doesn't answer. He is in this studio apartment complex place with Diamond, who is attractive. She walks in on him as they're together and she gets mad. She gets mad at him and at Diamond. Two people by no means are in relationships. They are both single. The only person that is in the committed relationship is the one that's mad. He asks her, what do you want me to do? I'm not just going to sit around waiting for you while you're going back home to your husband, especially when I'm able to deal with this very pretty woman that's in the same complex as me. What do you want me to do? I will do anything you want me to do. And he establishes that he will do anything that she wants if there is a commitment to him. And she can't commit. She gets to his place after he's been drinking, lets him know, like, hey, I can't be with you anymore. But he's been hearing this for months. So no one's taking it seriously. But then all of a sudden, Corey arrives and she says the same thing. They don't know about each other. Obviously, they're upset. Quentin, realizing that not also cheating on her husband, but cheating on him with another guy. And Corey, he's upset, not as upset as Quentin. Kind of reckless for her to have brought two guys that she's sleeping with together in order to tell them, I can't sleep with you guys. Because it looks kind of nasty and it looks kind of tacky. One would think, just saying, you bring them to wherever they're at individually and then say it, as opposed to bringing the two guys together to tell them, I can't mess with you anymore, so I'm going back to my husband. Reckless behavior. Anger is being ensued in this situation, because not also is she cutting them off, but she also insults them. And Corey, he ain't handling it well. He puts his hands on her, and Quentin ain't having it. All right, if anybody's gonna put their hands on this girl, it's gonna be him. Corey ain't got no quarrels with Quentin. All right, this ain't got nothing to do with him. But again, Quentin is drunk. So as Corey is leaving, he knocks him over the head, and now he's focused on Zoe, trying to understand why Zoe is the way she is. Like, why are you doing this to me? he's a little damaged, okay? He is the damaged character who gets sexier as the film goes on, so it is what it is. She damages his place, fucks up his feet. He's mad as hell for good reason. He's chasing her around the house because instead of just running towards the door, because he can't run too much because he got glass in his feet. He's ripping up all his paintings, showcasing his downward spiral. She ends up getting saved by her husband, who actually finds the phone that she was supposed to be keeping secret. Somehow, some way, she left it in the public, and there ain't no lock screen on the phone, but it is what it is. He is over her. He found the phone. He started reading the text messages. It was all that he needed to read and see. She wants to now apologize about the shit that she has done, but he's over it. This has been going on for months, and she could have been talking to him about this a long time ago, but it's not until she got found out that now she wants to talk about it. But she realizes, just like when she ripped up the contract with Quentin, if she can have her man, then she don't want to live. She walks out into oncoming traffic, car hits her, which should have done way more damage than the film is letting on, but it is what it is. I'm just telling you guys a story. So obviously the husband is devastated. We're given the feeling that she might have passed on, but she just got injured badly. The son, who has at this point not a fan of the mom, obviously the idea of her possibly not being around anymore in their lives is making him turn when it comes to appreciating her, I guess. The husband is kind of like, she's been lying to me all this time. I really don't have the time dealing with her. If once she comes to, I'm not really trying to be in this life. The mom, on the other hand, makes him feel like if you leave her, then you're not a good husband. Said your vows through sickness and in health. Clearly she has a sickness. Would you ruin your family just because of her indiscretion? And in my mind, as the viewer, yes, because she ruined the family with her indiscretion, but she guilts him into staying because that's her daughter. She's going to go to bat for her daughter, no matter how heinous the acts are that she's done. Zoe comes out of it. She's doing better. Recovery way faster than one would assume for being hit by cars and oncoming traffic. Her business is done. She has no business. All those people that were depending on her now have to look for jobs. Her best friend, somehow, some way, even though was trying to keep the business afloat, ended up losing her job. Who knows if she even has the apartment that she was living in because payroll wasn't happening. So she was struggling with rent. But things are cool now because Zoe's alive, because she tried to off herself, but she's alive, so everybody's happy for her. She finally gets to a sex addiction anonymous meeting, whatever they're called, that the doctor put on, and she's happy to see that Zoe is alive and well. Probably shocked, as a matter of fact, because she got hit really hard by a car, but it's okay. And she admits about what happened in her past. She was gamed by a few people when she was a child, which caused her to move from her hometown in Dallas to Atlanta to start her new life. And she is ready to take that next step. Life is not the same when she's not with her husband that has been with her since high school. She wants to be open and honest about everything now. But she's admitted the problems that she had, and she's willing to take on that next step of fixing it. That is the story. Tearjerker, if I might say it is. Not even. I like the story. It came out in 2014. You guys want to figure out where to watch it? You can see the icon in the thumbnail. And if you guys follow the link below, I will be doing unedited full-length commentaries on my Patreon of the films that I discuss up here. It's going to be a great time, especially if you enjoy films like me. I like storytelling. I used to make films. I am in the process of taking a short film that I wrote and turning it into a feature. This is a great way for me to stay artistic and creative when it comes to storytelling. Seeing what people are doing now or back in the day. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you're always notified about the new videos that I have coming out. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this story. It is definitely one of those stories where I watched the trailer for it and I liked the film more because of it. Not every film trailer that comes out make me want to watch a film. As a matter of fact, some trailers are so heavy with the story that it feels like you're watching the film in the trailer. So there's no point of spending the 2 hours that a film might be when you can watch the film in under 2 minutes. This trailer for this film did not do that. It actually made me more excited. The character of Quentin gets sexier as the film goes on because it's William Levy, and the cast is made up of a lot of gorgeous people. So if you like that, definitely let me know in the comments below. Not every film has a great story when they have a beautiful cast. I said Beckford, if I had to share an opinion, would probably be the only actor in it that wasn't that good because he's actually more of a model than an actor. Clearly was in this film because of his modeling and his looks, because acting is definitely not his strong suit. And there are a few hiccups every now and then when it comes to editing. But all in all, I did enjoy this film. But let me know in the comments below what you think about this story, because I'd be very intrigued to what you guys think. Also, if you guys do not know, I have a website, AliRoberts zoehabits.com, and through that website you can find my podcast, my Patreon, and everything that I do outside of YouTube. But I love you all. You guys know that I do. And I hope to have you all come back for the next video.